Hey,
Hey,
welcome
what's up, my
everybody.
man Ken? Happy
Hey,
Friday.
Lewis, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Actually, that was a pretty
You got,
nice intro, man. That's our
yeah,
first time running that intro, and I liked it a lot. It was actually
yeah,
really good. Um,
it's awesome. It's
so,
better than the elevator music that we had on the other one.
yeah, it puts you to sleep right before we start talking. But
Yeah,
yeah, man, that was pretty nice. Props out to the Campos Capital marketing team, Pablo and Natalie, for putting that together. That was pretty cool. Now I'm going to be excited every time we have a live. So that's awesome. So how's
it's
your
like
week been, man?
it's been pretty good. Just stepping it up. Just good news across the board. Just getting deals through. Learning a lot. Just with the market changes that are coming about. Just initiating a lot more conversations with investors and just learning something new every time I talk to somebody. Just I just like the different perspectives and that individuals are able to share with us. And I think one of the most educational things that I've had that I'm noticing, I think it's my fourth month now with Campbell's Capital Group, but previously I wasn't lending on nationwide. I was more centralized here in Houston, Texas. And now that I'm talking to individuals and investors and closing deals in different markets throughout the nation, I'm just learning like how different it can be. Like a DSCR loan here in Texas is very different compared in as far as the housing market goes compared to like Delaware, where I have my other DSCR loan closing right now.
Nice.
It's just trying to familiarize myself with the different markets and just keep educating myself and grow as a lender. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice. Well, it takes time, but so if everyone
yes,
doesn't know, I just want to let everyone know. So Danny, my co-host Lewis is filling in for him. So thank you so much for doing so. Danny is somewhere probably, I don't even know what ocean, I guess the Atlantic or the Caribbean or something. He's on a cruise with his family, so he's enjoying time right now off. So I doubt he's sometimes when he's on vacation, he's listening in, but he probably isn't. He's probably having too much fun.
yeah,
With that being said, he should be back next week. Not 100% sure, but I think he is. We do have guests lined up till the end of November, so we'll have a lot of good, interesting topics coming up. A couple things really quick. We do have, when it comes to events for Campos Capital Group, we are sponsoring the I Am Legacy event tomorrow here in Charlotte. It
yes.
is sold out, so congratulations to everyone that got tickets. Congratulations to the I Am Legacy group. They always put on great events. We're looking forward to it. Again, we are a sponsor there, so we'll have a table set up. If you are listening and you're going to the event, definitely stop by our table. And that's really it. We don't have any other events to talk about at this time, but I know we do have some future stuff coming up in the near future, definitely with the end of the year coming up and the holidays and everything else. So now it's getting close to my favorite time, but before I do that, hold on a second. I got a cat that is bothering me. So before I do that, let's. I want to bring on our guest early because he's gonna. He has a drink to share with us too. So I'm gonna bring him on. So can we bring on Devin Solo, please? He's our awesome guest today. So hi, Devin. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good, man. It's Friday. This is our. I think most people's favorite day of the week. They get to look forward to the
Yeah.
weekend, but Uh, us being in real estate, it's a little bit different. I feel like we're on call all the time, so it's a little bit different, but it's still good to know that weekend is pretty much here.
You know what I've noticed?
So
I feel like we get a little bit of a break here because a lot of our investors, people that we work with, other individuals are kind of like locked down. They're like, it's Friday, we're getting off of work, or they get a little break, they step out, they're gonna go have themselves some dinner. Maybe they're at their own happy hour in many cases. So it kind of
yeah,
gives us a little bit of quiet time. I've noticed that's for sure.
yeah. So Devin, before we introduce you formally, I want to get into my favorite part of the
Yeah.
show, which is talking about drinking and doing a little cheers. I will go first. So I am drinking New Belgium Voodoo Ranger. It is an Imperial IPA. It's I have never had this before, so I'm gonna take a sip really quick. It's not. Oh damn, that's actually kind of good. Never had it. Actually, from Asheville. At least that's what it says on the can. So it is local here in North Carolina. That's where I'm at. So I always, I wanted to try to find a local beer. So that's it. But it is good. It's 9%. I didn't realize it was 9%. That's actually pretty strong.
Yeah, that's good stuff. They have it on tap in a lot of the local beer houses that we have out here in Houston.
Oh, really? They have this on tap? This seems like strong to have on tap, but okay. But Lewis, how about you, man? What are you drinking?
Well, I'm going to show you the bottle of what's in my glass. So obviously, I'm going to dilute this. I'm not drinking this straight, but reached out into the liquor cabinet and I had this Dulce Vida pineapple tequila. Got some jalapeno in it. I find that some of that spicy stuff kind of helps keep the cold away during these while we're having the climate changes. But I went ahead and doused that down with a little bit more pineapple juice, gave it a lemon squeeze, and a lightly salted rim. So,
oh, look at you! Oh, with the Campbell's Cap
my CCG koozie. Got to represent.
I gotta represent. All right. How are you,
Devin?
What
are you having, my man?
I have the Warsteiner. Hold up to the camera. Warsteiner Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
The Costco special, I guess. Had some leftover from a marketing event we did last month for a meetup with other investors. And I too have my branded koozie for my business that I'll be drinking it from.
Awesome.
Well, you know what? I put mine in a pretty big sign, so Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Happy Friday. All right. That being said, let's get to the formal introduction. So, Devin, just tell us a little bit about you, your experience in ground up construction. Tell us a little bit about Better Properties and what you guys do. Just a little bit of a summary and introduction. So you have the floor.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I got into real estate in 2018. I have a finance background. I was in mergers and acquisitions. Had a non-compete where I worked, where we were looking at tech companies, finance companies, things like that. And I was allowed to do real estate. And the sort of style of real estate that I think we're all involved in here is actually surprisingly similar to mergers and acquisitions. You buy something, you add value, and then you either refinance or sell it off. And that's sort of what I was trying to replicate. Bought the first property, realized I didn't know anything about construction. That was a little bit of an issue. But I had a strong finance background. I met my partner, Mark Garrett, and we realized we had similar values and we could trust each other. We start looking for some duplexes, things like that to fix up. We found a deal, went to set up an LLC to buy the property in. We said, what will we call it? It's like, okay, well, we're going to make this Superior. So let's get Superior Properties. And that name was taken, at least in the state of North Carolina. So open the thesaurus. We're like, okay, all right. Yeah, we're definitely doing Better Properties. We're Better Properties. So we set up Better Properties, got that, and really just started buying a few duplexes, fixing them up, refinancing with the community bank after having hard money debt initially. Really started building it and realizing, hey, we want to scale this, and brought in our third partner, Greg Johnson. And as part of that, we realized, okay, let's provide these services for other people too. So we set up Better Realty and Better Construction to really focus on helping other investors in cities in North Carolina. Specifically, we're headquartered in Durham, but we'll go out to the Triad, go out to Charlotte, help people out, do what we did early on, which is focus on more single family, duplex, things of that nature. More recently, in the last couple of years, we've expanded to multifamily projects that we're rehabbing. And also with all of these provisions coming in cities like Durham, Raleigh, and Charlotte that are allowing more density, finding situations where the previous rules maybe weren't very favorable for development, but we can buy a house, tear it down, and put 8 houses there. And finding those opportunities, and they take more time. However, once you kind of get rolling and you get it built and it's there, there's a lot more value add if you can stomach the amount of time it takes.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And what you might have said this, and I'm going to miss it. So when did you start? What year was
2018.
it? 2018. So that's wow. You guys have done a lot in a short period of time. I mean, you're talking 5 years. Is my math correct? I think it is.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Very cool. So, oh, Louis, sorry, I was about to skip you. Why don't you ask the question? Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that part.
I said sorry. I was about to keep asking questions, but you can ask the question. I don't want to.
Okay, so here's the question I like to start off with. Can you explain why ground up construction projects are often considered a solid option of long term real estate investment, especially for those who are looking to build wealth over time?
Yeah, they're just superior in a few ways, and of course, there's so many strategies that work for real estate, but you just got to look at the pros and cons for particular situations. In this case, with ground up construction, you have this benefit of lower maintenance. You have something that's brand new; it's not going to break down. Sort of like with cars, there's a difference between a brand new car and a 20-year-old car, and having that lower maintenance. In theory, especially if you do sell this at some point, you should be getting a lower cap rate because the new buyer is assuming lower maintenance. There's less risk involved with the deal. And in general, because you're standardizing things, there's less risk also compared to, say, a fix and flip. Like you don't know what's behind the wall until you take down the drywall. But if there's no drywall or wall to even take down, you know exactly what's going to happen. And you can standardize that process. And in addition to that, you can customize the project. So, okay, I need this exact project with this exact product that's going to be higher quality because it's brand new, and get these very specific higher quality tenants. And then higher quality tenants also equals higher value. The banks like it more on your refinancing. You have fewer issues with collecting rent. And so, yeah, that's kind of why it's superior. And like, although I mentioned like it taking a while to do development deals, once you get your permits in place, it actually will go faster than a lot of rehab projects because you just follow the plans, your guys can crank it out, and it can go faster at that point in time.
That's great information, and you actually made some really good points because I've never torn down a wall to find a safe or some valuable heirlooms or anything like stashed in the wall. No stacks of money, nothing like that. The movies are definitely just fictional. So, and so, what kind of questions do you have for them, Ken?
Well, before I ask a question, it's funny that you said that because it wasn't on a rehab thing, but my brother-in-law. They were fixing a wall in one of his friend's house, and it was a really old house. I'm talking like from like the 1800s up in Maryland. And they took the drywall or spackle, whatever it was, down, and they found a case of scotch, like old scotch, and it ended up being like, you check the bottles, it ended up being like $1,000 a bottle.
Wow.
And they had a whole case of it. So, and it was, I tried it. It was actually still very good. Actually, it was probably better than it was when it was bottled. But, yeah, you can actually find some good stuff behind the wall once you start digging it out. But it's like winning the lottery, though. That being said, sorry. But thought about that when you said knocking down walls for some reason. But anyway, so what factors, you kind of mentioned this, but maybe you could go in a little bit deeper. What factors should investors consider when evaluating or wanting to get into ground up, especially as being maybe if they're new and they haven't done it yet? Like, what should they do? Who should they team up with? What kind of advice can you give them?
Yeah, find a good GC who's done it before. Your particular product, whatever it is, find somebody who can actually execute and won't leave you hanging. That's where, like, partnering with somebody like Better Construction, if you're in the state of North Carolina, reach out to us. We know we can execute, and if it's something we haven't done before, we'll let you know. A trusted party is really important on the actual execution of your construction, and that's what a lender wants to see also.
Yes.
And pick your project wisely too. You want to see an area where there's increasing demand versus supply. That's largely cities in North Carolina. That's why we do what we do. We work with people who, generally are going to make more money on their projects because they're more likely to pay us at the end of the day. And we focus on those areas. Everybody should be focusing in those areas. I think you see lenders doing that too. They're in places like Texas, North Carolina, Tennessee.
Yeah.
They're not in upstate New York. Like, if you come to me with a deal in upstate New York, I'm going to tell you you're crazy. Like, follow the population. Like, there's basic supply and demand that really needs to be considered here. And on top of that, I mean, there are a few other things: jurisdiction, zoning, making sure your project's viable from the beginning, and going into more of that supply and demand, density, future density, what's happening with that area in the long run. That, and can you get financing? Asking the question, why hasn't somebody done this before? Is the answer they haven't done it because they can't get financing? Then you probably aren't going to get financing either. There are good reasons and there are bad reasons for why people aren't doing the projects. If they're not doing the project because they're not in real estate and they just inherited this and their grandfather was the guy who did real estate, like, that might be a viable project. But if it's like, oh, there's a stream running through the back of this lot and it's really complicated, that's probably something just run away. Like, if you're going to do 1 or 2 deals a year, just like, you don't need to do that deal. Just look for the next deal.
Right. And that's a big factor. I mean, here in Texas, we have a lot of flood areas. So that could be an additional cost, an additional hazard. And one of the factors I know one of our GCs out here mentioned is the weather. A couple of years ago, I know when we bought this house, we had a freeze and it literally took everything out for about 2 weeks. We came in to see the house and they were still repairing all the pipelines and all of that. And to this day, I still had to go out and fix one of the other sprinkler lines the other day because it had just barely cracked, hairline fracture, tree grew into it, and I had to pull that line out and do some yard work. But those are great points there for some of these investors.
And I'm ignorant, man. It freezes in Texas?
Yeah. April 2021, there was a freeze that actually, the rain came in, it froze everything. We had power lines freeze, water lines were frozen. Everybody was up without energy and without water for about 2 years.
Wow.
2 years, 2 weeks.
Man,
that was 2 years.
I didn't realize it got that cold.
Yeah, I remember that. That was like a big deal. Everybody had the videos of the sprinklers when they finally got the water back on. They had all leaked and they were just flooding all of these apartment complexes and things like that.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was hectic. Terrible. It was very hectic. And then we have hurricanes. We also have like mini tornadoes that come through, just random weather. So yeah, I mean, those are things to look out for. I know some of the areas out here, like, they just won't. I've gone out and I've seen lots and they're just sitting there and they'll be sitting there for another couple of years before anybody decides to do anything with them for those very reasons. Watershed is a big factor. So yeah. Good points.
Yeah. Hey, well, before, really quick, I just want to, I know I just asked the question, but it's for that question. I know you mentioned, that's what you guys do when you were talking about, people that want to get into or investors that want to get into new construction. Can you tell me what that looks like? Like if we have clients at Campus Capital Group, we have people asking all the time that have done tons of fix and flips, right? And they could be heavy fix and flips. So they might be gutting the whole house or whatever, but they're keeping the foundation, all that. But they've asked, we're getting more people asking about, what does your ground up construction terms look like? And this and that. Like how does that look like on your part when it comes to a partnership? Like if we had a client or if someone comes to you, what does Better Properties bring to the table? What are you guys like? What do you do? What's your piece of that?
Yeah, so we're not just somebody who's building, taking plans. We have connections to architects, surveyors, everybody you would need to do the ground up construction. And what we would do in those scenarios is the same as, sometimes you need it for an addition or something like that. When you're getting the permit, that we would do a pre-construction contract that would guide you through surveying, subdivision, everything you need to do to get to the actual point where you get a permit. And that's sort of something where it's important to understand your jurisdiction. In certain areas, it's way more difficult. Like larger cities, it can be way more difficult, and more time needs to be assumed into your model of, okay, how long does this actually take to get from I found a deal, I like the land, to I have a permit in hand and I can actually do this construction. Um, and that's all pre-construction is how we consider it and look at it. And there are a few different points that go into there, especially surveying, your designing, and your engineering.
Wow. So you guys, okay, that's awesome. That's really good. Sorry, sorry, Lewis.
Oh,
I just kind of want to get
that's
an
okay.
idea
No, I'm glad you
before.
asked that question because that was great information, and also for myself as well as our viewers. Um, next question we wanted to ask was, I know we've asked. I guess that was a good question there, as far as insights that you can provide regarding securing financing for ground up construction projects, and you gave a good example of how we can manage and how you guys help and assist with that process of managing the construction costs or determining what those costs can be. And how does that factor into the profitable long term and how does that make for a profitable long term investment?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a chicken and egg when you're talking to your lenders because like a lender doesn't like risk. They have no upside
Yeah,
in any transaction. It is fixed. This is the amount of money that they are going to make when they do this deal. All they have is downside. And so they're just trying to mitigate their downside when you're talking to the lender. And there's a massive chicken and egg of the best way, the very best way to convince a lender that you can do a project is that you've done an exact project of it before and you're going to execute under those exact terms. And obviously, if you've never done it before, you can't do that. So your job is to make a project as close as possible to what you've already done. So say you have a duplex on the same exact street, you know the exact rents, and you're buying land down the street and you want to build a duplex, you've taken out a lot of the assumptions that you know you can execute on already. You can say, okay, my 2 beds are getting $1,600 a month. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it ready in 18 months. Hey lender, this is how I execute. And in fact, it's going to be better because that duplex is 60 years old and I had to fix stuff up and we still don't know what's behind some of the walls because we didn't take down those walls in particular. And the crawl space is going to be nice and dry. And so my maintenance is going to be a little bit lower, but I'll even use the maintenance assumptions that are on this duplex down here. So, hey, you should give me this loan because my assumptions are solid here. And this is how you get paid back.
got it. So that's kind of like an in-depth look at the leverage that an investor brings to the table to be able to determine if they're going to have what it takes, and having the experience looking at it from a financial point, from the financing point, lender point. We're looking at, hey, you've crossed your T's, you've dotted your I's, you're looking good up to this point. Let's see what other kind of leverage you have and what you're bringing to the table. And I guess, and that's a big factor. So determining if they're going to have what it takes to be able to make it happen. That's one thing that I've been reading up on is that majority of lenders we're gonna want to see at least one project that's been completed, one ground up construction project completed with a positive outcome. And obviously, it's almost like going from owning a house to investing into real estate, and then going from investing into real estate into a different aspect and stepping it up, stepping up your game and going into a more profitable aspect of the industry. So that's great information there regarding that. And so we'll move on to our next question.
Yeah. The next question I have is, what are the most common challenges and pitfalls that you see investors face when it comes to pursuing ground up construction, and how can they navigate through those challenges?
Yeah, so a lot of it's on the front end. You need a good GC, you need a good architect, you need a good surveyor, and you need a good engineer. And that's all pretty much putting the plans together on the front end. And really, if you have one of those that are bad, that can just bring the whole group down. They can't move forward. It bogs everything up. If your engineer is off a little bit, then okay, it doesn't matter that design was really great. You have to change the design now because the engineering didn't check out. Or with the surveyor in the front end is like, okay, I thought the setback was 6 feet, but it turns out it's 11 feet and he misread the code. And now you can't really do the project and you just spent $5,000 on a bunch of work on your design and you're in trouble now. So having all of those bases covered on the front end is really helpful. In addition to that, there's just project viability that you really want to be more conservative. It's always better to be more conservative on your assumptions. If you know, it's a common thing, especially like during COVID when everything was exploding, going crazy. I would talk to people around Durham and they'd be like, it's in Durham. It's got Durham in the address. Like, just buy it. Like, it's going to go up. And I was like, that's a terrible way to do your deals. Like, oh, it's got this city. Like, this city's the population's going up, so buy it. You will make money, and it's like, yeah, you'll make money eventually. That's true, but on a real basis, you're gonna lose money. So let's go down to reality. Like, let's stop being pie in the sky, and let's make sure we're conservative with our assumptions, so that if something does go sideways, we're still covered. We're understanding our downside. And I always say, I mean, obviously I didn't make this up, like, always protect the principal. Like, you don't want to lose your capital, your base capital. Keep that base capital.
We got to keep in mind that location is only 3 steps of like a 12-step process. So there's a lot more that goes into that.
Yeah. Don't overpay. Like, that's step 2. Location. Don't overpay. And then my third rule is don't think you're smarter than everybody else. Like, you're probably not. You might be, but like the idea that you're smarter than the whole rest of the market in aggregate is highly unlikely, because that's the consensus. That's everybody. It's just not worth the risk anyway. There's always another deal if you don't do the wrong deal.
Right. Assumptions can lead you down the rabbit hole that you don't want to go down, essentially. And so I'd like to ask, what is a buy and hold, and how does Better Properties guide investors with that process?
Yeah. So when we think about buy and hold, what we think about is finding a winner on the front end. And this is just true of momentum, investing in stocks, investing in anything. Winners tend to win, losers tend to lose. And there's human psychology all over this of like, people tend to like sell their winners early and hold on to their losers, which is like the exact opposite, because that's super emotion. But like a robot investor would say, my winners, I want to buy more of that because it's going to continue to win. So when we think about buy and hold, it's about finding the winner on the front end, because that's going to just provide passive growth, because it's just going to keep winning. That's what you want. You want to buy, if you think about a stock, you want to buy Amazon back in 2002 or Apple in 2001, because it was just going to be a winner. You didn't have to do anything there. You just had to hold it for 20 years and you're done. Like, that's what we're looking for with buy and hold. And our firm, we have the realty firm that helps identify the deal, the construction firm that helps you look at what happens on the rehab here, and a combination of all of the subsets of that. We're able to help with every aspect of due diligence in terms of how much is this going to cost, what's it going to be worth when it's done, what's it going to rent for, and really help you identify a winner. And we can do that because a majority of our employees are actually investors themselves. So when they tell you, hey, this was my experience with doing this on my property that's in this city, you can trust that they have skin in the game, and they know. Like, I trust people when they make mistakes with their own money and felt that pain, because that's like the best way to learn, is losing your own money from making a mistake. And so it's like, okay, that person knows, because I can see it when they say that, like, they lost $5,000 there and they're upset about it, and they don't, want me to lose $5,000. So, that's what I think about with the buy and hold, and finding the winners. Location, like you said, is very important. I think about the triangle in North Carolina, 08, 09. You look it up, like, real estate here went down like 3% overall in the triangle in North Carolina during 08, 09. That's insane when you look at the rest of the country. By 2011, this area was ahead of where it was before 08, 09 in terms of values on real estate, because population growth and people just wanting to be here. So when we think about buy and hold, it does go back to rule number 1, which is location, and finding a winner.
And I know right now a lot of the direction that the market's going, a lot of the predictions and everything that's being indicated, looking at our recent historic market, housing market, what happened in 2008, the housing market crash and all that, recession, whatever. It was an interesting time. I was working in traditional mortgages at that time. I was doing a lot of refinances. it was difficult to find certain deals, but I noticed that a lot of investors at that point, the ones that were ready, they acquired those buy and hold properties. They acquired them so cheap. I remember a property selling for 190,000, maybe within about 5 mile radius of the home that I lived in at that time, which is right now worth over 1.3 million. And it's just like that's one of the things I like to keep investors aware of, is that these are times where you can take your capital, you can take the money that you have, and you can acquire these types of properties that are going to provide you that long-term profitability and that passive income that you're looking to obtain. And then you're going to always have those opportunities that are going to be your fix and flips. You can, buy it, fix it, and sell it. And then there's the good ones, the ones, like you said, the winners that you don't want to let go of.
Yeah. Hey, to change the subject for a second,
Yeah.
Pablo, if you can hear me, if you could put up Devin's information to have it on here, so whoever's watching now can see it. But then if people are going to watch later, they can have his information. If you could put that up there, I know you're on LinkedIn, right? Correct, Devin? And you guys can look up Better Properties. I know I follow you guys on LinkedIn and I think Facebook too. But you can find them there. Also, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. If you don't, I can look it up really quick. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you know the events you guys hold and the dates and locations by chance? I know you have one in Charlotte and then you have one near you.
Yeah, so the third Thursday of every month, we have an event at Devil's Logic Brewing in Charlotte. And the last Wednesday of every month, we have an event at our office, 217 Hood Street in Durham, every month also, which is right next to Ponysaurus Brewing. If you know where that is, we tend to aggregate towards breweries.
Yeah. No, good. I noticed that. I went to your guys' event last month. It was a great event. So I definitely recommend, if you guys are watching or you watch later, come out, speak to Devin there at Better Properties. They hold a great event, great hospitality. So I appreciate that. Then you're meeting people that obviously it's a networking event, right? And usually everyone at these type of networking events have something in common, whether they're investors or wholesalers or realtors, or they're just looking to get into the game. So come on out. Like I said, they got great hospitality. And that's how I met Devin, and I met Better Properties. So I appreciate that. And they put up a video. It shows a lot of the work they've done, which is some really good stuff. And they explain what they do. They get into detail if you ask them. So definitely come out for that. That being said, I had a question, but now that I'm talking, I kind of forgot it. But the last question I had was, I know I already kind of asked this, and I know you said general contractors, but like if I'm somebody that has never done ground up and I have fix and flips and I don't have a general contractor, I don't have anywhere, what's the best place to start and to try to find that, to find the people I need, the team I need? What is your recommendation to do?
I think it is going to events like the ones we host. Like you mentioned, it's a variety of people there. There's an insurance agent typically. There are other brokers, other builders, other investors. And what I would do, like, look, I'm an open book. Like if another investor comes to me and asks me a question, I tell them my opinion. Who should they use? I was like, oh, go talk to this guy. Things like that, where, I mean, I just kind of believe what comes around goes around, and like to put good voodoo out there. Like I think a lot of good people are out there too, who just like, yeah, exactly. Where it's like, if you help others, somehow in the universe, good stuff will come back to you. So like, and you just never know who anybody's going to be 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So help some other people out and, give them some advice, give them some introductions. You just got to ask. I mean, I think, like I forgot, I think it was like, I'm blanking on the major computer company. I think it was Apple, with Steve Jobs and how he got into it. He just like literally he's in San Francisco and he calls the CEO of Hewlett Packard and it's like, do you have extra computer parts? I'd like to put a computer together, and start a personal computer company. And like literally he's talking to the founder of Hewlett Packard and got help from him just because he reached out. And I think that's the message there is like, you just can't be afraid to reach out to people who have already done it before, because most of them will answer. If you're genuine and sincere, like people will answer, they will help you. And just don't be afraid to ask is what I would say.
Yep. I love that statement. That was awesome.
That's great advice. Great advice. And it's funny that you say that because I've been with Campus Capital Group a year, and I came from traditional retail banking, on the business banker side, all that. And it's funny because it took me a little bit when I started going to these networking groups, right? And events and stuff like that, and meeting people. I think the biggest thing I was surprised at and amazed at was how much people were willing to help in this community. Like two wholesalers, right? In theory, they could be fighting for the same property, but they are most of the time, at least all the people I've met are there willing to say, give advice, show them what they do, how they get leads, how they look for properties, how they negotiate, all this other stuff. And it's same with investors, like coming from the retail banking side and the business banking side. Shoot, I competed against people in my own company, right? Like it was just so much. Like they didn't want to give up. Like if I was in their territory, they would get mad at me. Like it's a completely different environment. And I would say for the people out there that are, looking to get into investing, whether it's ground up, fix and flip, whatever you want to do, I think the one thing we've said in almost every live we've had is build a network, get out and network, get out and meet people. Like Devin said, I think it's a theme that goes around, and it's just get out there and do it, meet people, build that team and that network around you to support you and help you. And then you'll be able to do the same. It's giving back. And once you grow and you get advanced and know what you're doing, then, there's going to be some newbie that wants advice too. And then you give that back. Right. So you're correct on that. And I think that's a theme that we talk about almost every week. Doesn't matter what the subject is. It always comes up. And again, networking, I think is a huge thing in this business. So I appreciate that answer. Louis, I don't know if you have any questions.
Some of the best advice you'll get is going to be from the individuals, the people that have been through those battles, and they're happy to talk about it from what I've experienced, because they're like, you know what, I was able to overcome. I went through this deal here. This is what to look out for. These are the things I would have done differently. Here you go. And that's a big thing. It's not like, like taking a test. It's like you're gonna in life, like you want to have those answers. There's no cheating in this aspect of business. Is that the more you know, the better. And when you're tested, you already have those answers. You already have that information, and you have the different perspectives of the other professionals in our industry, and you'll be able to put forth your best foot and get your deals done with the least amount of cringes and just get through it. So get those done.
Yeah, there's no reason to recreate the wheel that somebody already built.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to change.
All right,
those.
I keep saying last question. This is the $1 million question too. What's your outlook being in this field? What's your outlook? Where do you see the market? And I know you're local to North Carolina and all that. You can do North Carolina. That's fine.
Yeah.
What's your outlook for the market? And I would say the next 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
Where do you see it?
3 to 5 years, you have enough time to have recovery. I think we're gonna see rates start to dip. They'll start dipping sometime towards the end of next year. And this goes back to conservative assumptions. What happens if it slips all the way into 25 before rates come down? Prepare for that. Because it is possible, but eventually rates will come down a little bit. I mean, historically, we're actually only a little bit high.
Exactly.
So it's if it comes down, and mortgages go from 7.5%, 8% all the way down to 6%, we end up right back in an okay environment. I know at least in North Carolina, in most of these major metro areas, 6% environment, the market really was kind of still doing okay. As we started getting a little bit above that, that's when we're like, okay, people can't afford this. Like, it's a problem. And then we started seeing some dipping. But prior to going over like 5.5%, 6%, the market was holding pretty steady here. So I think it's safe to assume if rates go back down there, which may take up to 5 years, the market will rebound. In the meantime, there are a bunch of other factors. If you're, it goes back to location, like basic supply and demand. Like if you're in it and people want to be there and there's limited supply, you're gonna do okay. It's gonna be fine. Just don't overpay. Make the right assumptions. Don't overpay, and you'll be fine. Avoid auctions where you can. That's one way where it's like I go back to like my third rule, which is like don't think you're smarter than everybody else. You don't have to be smarter than everybody else if they're not in the auction. Like if it's just you trying to buy it, which like you're just cold calling your neighbor and you're like, I'd like to buy your house. That's a good way to get a deal done because nobody else is there. You don't have to outsmart anybody or outbid anybody. Like you can just find the deal. So the deals are out there. You gotta find them. I mean, before things kind of went haywire, we'd look at 100 deals just to get one done. And maybe those numbers have changed a little, but like it kind of depends how badly you want it. Maybe you have to look at 500 now instead of 100 to get one done. So just know you got to look 5 times as long to actually find a deal. They're out there though. And I mean, that goes into the buy and hold. Like you're buying for value 30 years from now, the deals are there. Don't overpay. Go shift to a market that has more cash flow if that's what you need in the short term. Just halfway in between Greensboro between Charlotte and the Triangle is Greensboro. Like that's a great market right now. You got 5 universities, you got a bunch of jobs going there. Like, okay, it's not as sexy as Charlotte or Raleigh, Durham, but like, there are deals there. Go find something. I mean, there's just like, if it makes sense, like, oh man, you can buy a 3-bedroom house for under 200 grand in Greensboro, like, and then it rents out for 1,600, like, maybe go to Greensboro, like at least for now, like that, like because everybody else is going to think that same thing where it's like, okay, so the income is like 10-15% less in Greensboro compared to these other places, but the housing cost is 1/2. Like there's basic math there that says maybe I want to look for a job in Greensboro that other people are going to do. It's going to drive demand there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you're right, and it's funny. And sorry, Louis, because I'm in North Carolina too, so I'm thinking North Carolina at this moment. But there's so many towns in North Carolina, in just the short time that I've lived here, coming from the DC area, and it's crazy just from some of our clients and me doing some deals, funding deals, in different small towns in the area. Like it's crazy, like what you could get with value, and the rents are still like kind of, you would not think like in Wilson, Carolina, that you could rent like pretty much an apartment for $1,200 to $1,400, like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. Like that's pretty crazy. So like I think if you do your research and you look around and you see what the future holds, is there any kind of new development coming into these towns that are going to make communities grow, things like that, I think that helps out a lot. So, but yeah, you're right. Like Greensboro is we get a lot of clients talking about Greensboro. So, I think that's a great area.
Nice. I did take notes of some of these brewing companies. So it's the Devil's Lodge and then the Pony Source Brewing Company. So when I do visit, you'll know where to find me. Go check those places out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're well, I haven't been up Devon's way yet, but when they had the ones down here at gosh, and now I'm just forgetting the name of it. Devil's
Logic.
Devil's Logic. Sorry, that's how I'm still new to the area. Well, but Devil's Logic, it's a great brewery, great location. Like I said, they hold a great event there. It's a nice private room with an event, and there's plenty of people that come. So definitely come on out and get a chance.
Really quick, Devin, I want to thank you for all the information that you shared today. I know I've learned a lot, and I appreciate the perspective that you shared with me. And just to let you know, that good vibes, giving information and sharing that information with individuals, just to let you know that's going to trickle down through myself. So I'm going to share that with the individuals, my group, my networking events, and yes, sir. I love exactly. So just wanted to mention that before we connected.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of not, come on here and tell what I know and talk about what I've done. And, you know, I
Yep.
just, I mean, it's kind of a passion for me. So getting to talk about real estate and also beer is, something I love to do.
I know. Beer and real estate, not a bad combination.
Yeah.
But if you guys don't notice, which
hand
you
in hand.
probably do, if you guys don't notice, if whoever's watching will probably see it, but Devin does have his email up on his live stream. So take it down, write it down. If you have any questions, hit him up. He can probably answer them. Ask them if they could. Maybe you have a deal that they can partner with. You don't know. So definitely write down his email. We will put it up after the fact. Like I said, our live stream will be on Campos Capital Group. Recorded, so you could go back and watch it at any time. It's also on my personal page too, so definitely do it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Devin. Great information. I actually learned a lot. Ground up construction, I feel like, could be so complicated, or at least could be very it could be almost overwhelming, especially if you haven't done it before or you're trying to learn about it. So I appreciate you giving us some information about it, and I look forward to seeing you in person again, hopefully shortly.
Yeah, see you soon. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Peace out.
Thank you,
See you
guys.
later. All
Have a
right,
good
see you,
one.
Lewis. All right, bye now.